Have you ever wondered why nobody talks about the quiet struggles that come after 70? They show you the smiling pictures, the peaceful gardens, the rocking chairs in the sunset. But behind those images, there's a truth most people don't say out loud. A truth about the hidden emotional gaps that catch you when you least expect it. Moments when you feel a little lost, even in a life full of blessings. Today, I want to share with you something honest, something real. Not to bring you down, but to remind you that you're not alone. Because feeling these gaps doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means you're human. And it means you're still beautifully alive. 1. The myth of constant happiness after 70. Have you ever reached a point in life where you wonder, why don't I feel as happy as I thought I would? They tell you that your golden years will be full of peace, laughter, and easy days. They paint a picture of quiet mornings with coffee, family visiting often, and endless time to enjoy yourself. But what they don't tell you is about the hidden emotional gaps that sneak in when you least expect them. I remember the first morning after I retired. No alarm clock, no meetings, no deadlines. At first, it felt like freedom. But after a few weeks, I woke up one day and thought, what now? It surprised me. I had worked all my life dreaming of these years. I had waited for this. But there it was, a small, silent emptiness I couldn't explain. The truth is, the myth of constant happiness after 70 is just that, a myth. Life still has its quiet challenges, even after the kids are grown and the career is behind you. There are days when you feel joy, yes. But there are also moments when you feel a little lost, a little disconnected. And that's perfectly normal. One of the first emotional gaps that caught me off guard was how friendships changed. Over time, people drift away. Some move closer to family in other states. Some get caught up in their own health battles. And some, heartbreakingly, are no longer with us. I had a circle once that felt like family. We'd gather for holidays, call each other just to chat. These days, it's quieter. The phone rings less often. It's a strange kind of loneliness when you can't always explain to others. You might be surrounded by people, even family, and still feel that small ache inside. And that's when you realize, friendship isn't something you can take for granted. You have to keep planting seeds, making new connections, finding community even when it feels a little scary. Losing that daily connection doesn't mean life has to get smaller. It just means you have to open new doors. I joined a local book club a few years back. I didn't know a soul. But sitting there, sipping coffee, laughing about a silly mystery novel, I realized something. The heart has an endless capacity to make new memories, new friendships. And when we talk about gaps, we can't forget about purpose. All those years spent working, building, raising a family, they fill your life with direction. Without them, it can feel like you're wandering without a map. I used to introduce myself by what I did. I was a teacher. I was a father raising 3 kids. After 70, who am I? I had to find a new answer, and it wasn't easy. But I started small, helping out at the community center, reading to kids at the library, teaching my grandson how to fix a leaky faucet. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can be as simple as making someone smile. It took me a while to realize this. But now I know the gaps you feel aren't signs that you're doing something wrong. They're signs that you're still growing, still living, still loving, and there's something beautiful about that. 2. The gap left by changing friendships. It's funny how friendships change, isn't it? You spend years building bonds with people, laughing over dinners, leaning on each other during the hard times, celebrating weddings, births, retirements. You think these connections will last forever. But after 70, life has a way of shifting the ground under your feet. One by one, the people you thought would always be there start to fade from your daily life. It's not out of malice. Life just happens. Some move to be closer to their children. Some downsize and relocate to quieter towns. Others, sadly, leave this world altogether. And sometimes, even those who stay seem to drift away, busy with their own struggles or just caught up in the flow of life. I remember my neighbor Joe. We used to meet every Saturday morning for coffee at the diner down the road. We'd sit in the same booth, order the same breakfast, and talk about everything under the sun: football, our wives, our gardens, the grandkids. It was a ritual. It was a friendship built not on big gestures, but on small, steady moments. One Saturday, Joe didn't show up. He had moved overnight to live with his daughter 2 states away. His health had started to fail, and he needed more care than he could manage alone. There was no big goodbye, no last cup of coffee, just an empty seat across from me. At first, I shrugged it off. Life moves on, right? But a few weeks later, I noticed that my Saturday mornings felt heavier, lonelier. That small hole in my weekly routine started to grow, and Joe wasn't the only one. Over the years, it's happened again and again. Friends I thought I'd grow old with have disappeared from my everyday life. Some call now and then, others, well, life just pulls us apart. The loneliness that creeps in is quiet but powerful. It's not the same as being completely alone. You can be surrounded by family, by neighbors, by familiar faces at the grocery store, and still feel that quiet ache of missing your people. No one really prepares you for that. They tell you to stay active, to join clubs, to find hobbies, and that's good advice. But rebuilding deep, meaningful friendships at 70 or 80 isn't as easy as it was when you were 20. When you're young, friendship is effortless. You meet people at school, at work, through your kids. Your lives are tangled together by circumstance. But now it takes intention, it takes bravery. It's easier to stay home, to watch television, to convince yourself you don't need anyone. It's safer that way. You can't lose what you don't have. But here's the thing, we are wired for connection. No matter how old we get, the heart longs for companionship, for someone who remembers your stories, for someone who laughs at your old jokes even if they've heard them a dozen times. After Joe left, I made myself a promise. I wouldn't let loneliness make me small. I wouldn't let the gaps left by old friends define the rest of my days. It wasn't easy at first. I felt out of place at the senior center. I felt awkward joining a community garden group. I felt like the new kid again, and let me tell you, that's not a feeling you expect to relive at 75. But little by little, it got better. I met Frank, who loves fishing as much as I do. I met Marlene, who bakes pies that would put any bakery to shame. I met people who didn't know the younger me, but who appreciated the man I am today. Friendship at this stage of life doesn't have to look the same as it did before. It might be simpler, quieter, but it can be just as deep, just as nourishing. And it's not just about making friends your own age. Some of the richest conversations I've had lately are with people younger than me, people who ask for advice, who listen to the stories of my generation, who remind me that wisdom has a place in every community. If you're feeling that gap where old friends used to be, know this, you're not alone. It's normal. It's part of the shifting tides of life. And it doesn't mean the best days of connection are behind you. They might just be waiting in a place you haven't looked yet. One morning, a few months after Joe moved away, I walked into that old diner again. I almost turned around at the door, but something pulled me inside. I sat at our usual booth, ordered my coffee, and that's when it happened. A man about my age sitting at the counter turned, saw me sitting alone, and said, "Mind if I join you?" His name was Bill. Divorced, retired Navy man, loved fishing, missed his kids. Just like that, over 2 steaming cups of black coffee, a new friendship began. Life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. So if you find yourself feeling the quiet ache of lost friendships, don't harden your heart. Don't let fear keep you in your chair. Get up. Say hello, show up at the events, sit at the counter, invite someone to your table. Because even after 70, even after 80, your heart still knows how to find its people. And sometimes, all it takes is an empty booth, a warm cup of coffee, and the courage to say, "Mind if I join you?" That's the thing about gaps. They're just space waiting to be filled. And there's no age limit on making a new friend to help you fill it. 3. The loss of purpose after career and parenting. There's a moment, sometime after you hang up your work boots or close the office door for the last time, when you wake up and wonder, what is my purpose now? It doesn't hit you all at once. At first, retirement feels like a vacation. Sleep in a little longer, sip your coffee without rushing, take an afternoon walk just because you can. It's peaceful, it's easy. But then, little by little, a question starts whispering in your ear. For decades, your life had a clear rhythm. You woke up knowing your responsibilities, your goals, your place in the world. You were the provider, the builder, the caregiver, the fixer. Maybe you raised children, ran a business, led a team. Maybe you put in long days at a factory, a farm, an office. Every day there was something to do, someone depending on you. And now the calendar stretches wide and blank. No deadlines, no meetings, no homework to check, no clients to call back, no fields to harvest. At first, the freedom is sweet. but slowly it can start to feel like you're floating without an anchor. I know because it happened to me. I spent 40 years working construction, building homes for other families. Laying the bricks, raising the walls, setting the windows into place. I could drive through town and point to the houses I helped create. I built that, I'd say, and it made me proud. When I retired, my tools gathered dust. My truck sat in the driveway more than it ever had. The calluses on my hands softened. And one morning I sat at my kitchen table, staring out the window and thought, who am I if I'm not building anything? It's a hollow feeling, that loss of purpose. And it's one a lot of folks don't talk about because we're supposed to be enjoying this time. We're supposed to be grateful, not restless. But here's the truth. Purpose isn't something you outgrow. It doesn't retire when you do. It just changes shape. The trick is learning to find it again. I started small. I fixed the squeaky cabinet door that had annoyed my wife for years. I helped my neighbor build a new fence after a storm blew the old one down. I volunteered at the local shelter, hammering together bunk beds for families who had nowhere else to go. Each time I picked up a tool, each time I created something with my hands, I felt a flicker of the old fire return. Purpose doesn't always have to be a grand thing. It can be in the small, ordinary acts of service. In teaching your granddaughter how to bake your famous biscuits. In mentoring a young man who never had a father figure. In painting landscapes just because they bring you peace. It's not about chasing the big titles anymore. It's about living with intention, about pouring your time and heart into things that matter, even if they only matter to one person. I once met a woman at a community center who had spent her whole life teaching 3rd grade. After she retired, she felt lost. She missed the kids, the energy, the sense of being needed. So she started volunteering at the library, reading to children every Saturday morning. She told me, when I sit in that rocking chair and open a storybook, I feel like myself again. It's not the paycheck that gives your life meaning. It's the giving, the sharing, the living. Some folks find their new purpose in their faith, diving deeper into their church or their spiritual practice. Some find it in gardening, coaxing life from the earth, planting seeds they know they might not live to see fully grown. Some find it in activism, fighting for the causes they believe in. And sometimes, purpose is simply being there, really being there for the people who still need you, even if they don't always say it. Being the one who shows up, the one who listens, the one who cares. There's a kind of wisdom that only comes with years, a kind of steady, patient love that the world desperately needs. And maybe that's the greatest purpose of all, to be a living example of grace, resilience, and quiet strength. The world needs that. I needed to learn that my worth wasn't tied to my productivity. I wasn't valuable because I could lift heavy beams or work long hours. I was valuable simply because I was here alive with stories to tell, wisdom to share, hands still capable of building. If not houses, then hope. If you find yourself staring at the long days ahead, wondering what you're supposed to do with them, know this. Your purpose didn't retire. It just evolved. Maybe you're meant to build memories now instead of houses. Maybe you're meant to plant hope instead of crops. Maybe you're meant to teach patience instead of lessons from a textbook. The work of your hands may have changed, but the work of your heart, that's eternal. And it's needed now more than ever. So pick up the phone, call an old friend, volunteer your time, plant a garden, paint a picture, write your stories down. Hug your grandchildren, pray for a neighbor. Build something that matters. Because no matter your age, no matter your stage, you are still a builder, you are still a giver, you are still a teacher, and you are still and always will be needed. 4. The underestimated grief over physical changes. Getting older brings a kind of grief that nobody really talks about. It's not just about losing friends or family, though that's part of it. It's about saying goodbye to pieces of yourself. Pieces you thought would be yours forever. When you're young, you feel invincible. You can run without thinking about your knees, lift heavy things without worrying about your back, stay up late without paying for it the next day. You take your body for granted because it always shows up for you. But after 70, your body starts sending you little reminders that time is passing. A creaky hip, a slower pace, more visits to the doctor than you ever cared for. You wake up some mornings and feel aches you didn't earn. I remember the first time I had to ask for help carrying groceries up the stairs. It wasn't a mountain of bags, just a few. But my hands trembled, my knees wobbled, and I had to swallow my pride and accept a neighbor's outstretched hand. It stung. Not just the muscles, my heart. There's a kind of mourning that comes with these changes. A quiet sorrow for the body you used to have, the things you used to do without thinking. Maybe you used to love dancing all night at weddings. Now you sit and tap your foot to the music, smiling, but remembering when you were the one spinning across the floor. Maybe you were the first one to grab a shovel when the snow fell. Now you watch from the window as someone else clears the walk. Maybe you used to jump into the ocean with your grandkids. Now you sit on the shore, cheering them on, but feeling the salt water tugging at memories more than your toes. It's easy to brush off these feelings, to tell yourself, I'm lucky to be alive. And you are, we all are. But it's also okay to admit that it hurts. It's okay to grieve the parts of yourself that have changed. Because grief doesn't just come when we lose others. It comes when we lose parts of ourselves too. And here's something no one tells you. Grief and gratitude can live in the same heart. You can be thankful for every day you wake up, every breath you take, every sunrise you see, and still feel a pang for the days when your body moved like a well-oiled machine. You are not ungrateful because you miss your strength. You are not selfish because you wish your hands were steadier, your eyes sharper, your legs surer. You're human. One evening not long ago, I sat with my oldest grandson in the backyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. He asked me, "Grandpa, do you miss being young?" I thought about it. I could have given him a neat answer, something easy. But I decided to tell him the truth. "Sometimes," I said, "sometimes I miss running without thinking about it. I miss lifting my grandkids onto my shoulders. I miss climbing ladders without worrying if I'll come back down in one piece." He nodded, serious in that way only children can be. But I added, "Getting older has given me things I never had when I was young. Patience, wisdom, a deeper kind of joy." He smiled and leaned his head on my arm. And in that moment, the ache in my knees didn't matter so much. Because what we lose in strength, we often gain in spirit. The world moves fast. Youth is loud and bright and rushing forward, but aging teaches you to savor, to notice, to be still in a way you never could before. When I walk now, I see things I used to miss. The way the light filters through the leaves, the way a robin tilts its head to listen, the way the breeze carries the scent of rain before a storm. A slower body teaches you to have a deeper soul. That doesn't mean the grief disappears. There are days when I get frustrated with myself, days when I long for the energy I used to have. But I let myself feel it. I sit with the sadness for a moment. And then I remember, every wrinkle, every scar, every ache is a mark of a life lived fully. Our bodies are not failing us. They are carrying us faithfully through every chapter of our story. So be gentle with yourself. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to lean on someone, lean. If you need to cry for the things you can no longer do, cry. And then when you're ready, stand back up, move forward. Find new joys that match the rhythm of your life now. Take the dance slower, but make it sweeter. Walk shorter distances, but notice more along the way. Hold your grandchild's hand instead of carrying them and cherish the feeling of their fingers wrapped around yours. You are not less because your body has changed. You are more seasoned, more tender, more wise, and in many ways more beautiful than you've ever been. So honor the grief. Honor the body that has carried you this far. And honor the life that still stretches out before you, rich with moments yet to come. Because even in the slowing down, there is wonder. Even in the aches, there is grace. And even in the letting go, there is so much left to hold on to. 5. The gap of being less needed. There's a moment that sneaks up on you, somewhere in your 70s or 80s, that you don't quite expect. It's the moment you realize you're not needed the same way you used to be. When you're raising kids, when you're building a career, when you're taking care of a household, there's always someone or something depending on you. Your phone buzzes. Your doorbell rings. Your name is called 100 times a day. "Dad, can you help with this? Grandma, I need you." You get used to it. You live in the center of a busy, buzzing world. But after a while, the house grows quieter. The calls come less often. The grandkids are busy with school, friends, their own lives. Your children, now middle-aged, have their routines, their careers, their own families to worry about. It's not that they don't love you. They do. It's just that they don't need you like they used to. And that can leave a gap inside you that's hard to fill. I remember a Sunday afternoon not too long ago when I sat alone in the living room. The TV was on, but I wasn't really watching. My kids had promised to come by, but something came up. The house, once full of voices and footsteps and clanging dishes, felt like an empty shell. And I realized they don't need me today. Maybe they won't need me next week either. Maybe this is just how life goes now. I sat there with that feeling for a long time. Let it soak into my bones. It wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness, really. It was a kind of quiet loss, a soft closing of a chapter. The thing about being needed is that it gives you a sense of place. A reason to get up, to cook the meals, to show up for the games, to answer the phone at midnight. When that need fades, it's easy to start questioning your worth. It's easy to feel invisible. But here's what I've learned: being less needed doesn't mean you're less important. Your role just shifts. Your presence becomes a gift instead of a requirement. It took me time to see that. One afternoon, I decided to stop waiting for the phone to ring. I picked it up myself. I called my grandson and asked if he wanted to come over and help me bake a pie. He hesitated, teenagers do, but he said yes. We spent the afternoon elbow deep in flour, laughing over my terrible measuring skills, eating more filling than we put in the crust. When he left that evening, he hugged me and said, "Thanks, Grandpa, I needed that." Not because he needed me to solve a problem, not because he needed me to fix something, just because he needed a moment, a connection. That's when it clicked for me. Maybe the days of being needed in the way I once was are over. But the days of being wanted, of being loved, of being chosen, those are still very much alive. It's just a different kind of beautiful. You have to open your arms to it. You have to meet your family where they are now, not where they used to be. Sometimes that means sending a silly text to your granddaughter instead of waiting for her to call. Sometimes it means showing up at your son's house with a casserole just because. Sometimes it means finding new places to be needed, volunteering at a hospital, mentoring a young person in your community, offering your time, your wisdom, your listening ear. Because let me tell you something, the world may not call on you every day, but it still needs you. There are neighbors who could use a helping hand. There are lonely folks who could use a warm smile. There are kids who could use a steady, kind presence in their lives. Your value doesn't vanish when your phone stops ringing off the hook. It grows deeper, richer, wiser. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not done. You are a lighthouse, steady, shining, standing tall. Sometimes ships only look for the lighthouse when the storm comes, and that's okay. You're still standing, still shining, ready to guide them home when they need it. There's peace in letting go of the old expectations, peace in embracing your new role. You're no longer the frantic firefighter putting out everyone's little emergencies. You're the quiet garden where they can come to find rest. And believe me, in this fast, noisy world, we need gardens more than ever. So if you feel the ache of being less needed, let it be a doorway, not a dead end. Let it be the beginning of a new chapter, not the closing of the book. Because you are still needed. In ways that matter more than you know. In ways that touch the heart, not just the schedule. In ways that build legacies, not just moments. And if you open your heart to that truth, you'll find that the gap of less needed becomes a space where deeper, stronger, quieter love grows. The kind of love that doesn't have to shout or demand attention. The kind of love that simply is. And that kind of love, well, that's the kind that lasts forever. 6. The surprise gap. Feeling young inside but not seen that way. There's a strange thing that happens as the years go by. Inside, you still feel like yourself. Maybe a little wiser, a little slower in your step, but still, you. Still the young man who loved to dance, the young woman who loved to laugh until her sides hurt. But when you look in the mirror or when the world looks at you, they don't always see that. They see the gray hair. They see the wrinkles. They see the cane, the slower walk, the need for a little help now and then. And sometimes it feels like the world sees only those things. I remember walking into a store one afternoon. I was feeling good that day, feeling lively, like I had a little bounce in my step. But the young clerk behind the counter smiled at me with that look. You know the one? Like I was something fragile. Like I might break if he spoke too loud. "Take your time, sir," he said with a voice you'd use for a child or a sick man. And I thought, buddy, if you only knew. If you only knew about the cross-country road trips I've taken. The late nights under the stars. The adventures, the heartbreaks, the victories, the long, full life that's still humming inside me. It's strange, isn't it? To feel so young in your heart and yet to be seen as old by everyone else. Sometimes it stings. Sometimes it feels like the world has decided who you are without even asking. And if you're not careful, you can start to believe them. You can start to shrink yourself down, live smaller, speak softer. But let me tell you something, don't. Don't let the world tell you who you are. Because inside you still beats the heart of a dreamer, a dancer, a builder, a lover, a fighter. Age is not a cage. It's a crown. Every year you've lived has polished it. Every loss, every triumph, every heartbreak, every moment of joy, they've all added to it. You wear it whether people see it or not. And you owe it to yourself to live like you still believe in the fire inside you. That means singing even if your voice cracks. That means dancing even if your knees complain. That means laughing, flirting, traveling, dreaming, creating, loving. You don't have to ask permission to live fully. You've earned that right. The world might see the silver in your hair and miss the gold in your heart. But you don't have to. You can keep showing up. Keep surprising them. I once heard a story about a woman who took up painting at 83. She had never picked up a brush before. People thought she was silly. "Why start now?" they asked. Her answer, "Because I'm not done living." She painted every day until she passed at 92. Left behind a gallery full of beauty the world would have missed if she'd listened to those voices. Or the man I met at the local community college, sitting in the front row of a history class. 80 years old, back in school because he said he finally had time to learn everything he wanted. He asked more questions than anyone half his age. He lived with curiosity blazing out of him. And that's the thing, isn't it? The soul doesn't age. The soul stays wild and full of wonder if we let it. It's the body that slows down. It's the world that misunderstands. But inside you are still all the ages you've ever been. The little boy chasing fireflies. The young woman dancing barefoot in the rain. The father, the mother, the friend, the dreamer. All those selves are still alive in you. And they deserve to keep living. So if someone speaks to you like you're fragile, smile and know better. If someone underestimates you, let them. Then go out and surprise them. Book the trip, write the book, plant the garden, fall in love again, start the project, join the club, take the class, build the thing. Whatever it is that sparks joy in you, don't hold back. Because the world needs to see that the fire doesn't die with age. It matures, it deepens, it becomes something even more beautiful. When you live fully, you give others permission to do the same. When you laugh loud and love big and dream wild, you show the young ones that growing older isn't something to fear. It's something to aspire to. You become a lighthouse again, a beacon of hope, of life, of vibrancy that doesn't dim even as the years roll on. So dance, laugh, dream, live, not because you're trying to prove anything to the world, but because life is still beautiful. Because you are still beautiful, because inside you the spirit is still young, still bold, still ready for the next great adventure. And if the world can't see that, well, that's their loss, but you keep shining anyway. Because age may change your reflection, but it can never change your light. Maybe today you woke up feeling a little different. Maybe there's an ache you can't quite name, a small empty space you didn't expect. Maybe the things we've talked about today, the quiet shifts, the hidden gaps, they're familiar to you. If they are, know this, you're not broken, you're not alone, you're not less. You're living. You're navigating a stage of life that demands grace, courage, and heart, and you're doing it with all the strength you need inside you. We often hear about the beauty of the golden years, and yes, there is beauty, but there's also loss. There's also change. There's also adjustment. And admitting that doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Wise enough to see that life doesn't stop offering lessons, even as the hair turns gray. Wise enough to understand that growing older isn't just about adding candles to a cake. It's about shedding old layers, discovering new joys, and finding deeper meaning in every single day. Some days, you might feel the myth of constant happiness slipping away, and that's okay. Some days, you might mourn the friends who are no longer by your side, and that's okay. Some days, you might wrestle with the quiet question of purpose, and that's okay. Some days, you might grieve the strength you once took for granted, and that's okay. Some days, you might feel the ache of being less needed, and that's okay. Some days, you might fight against being seen as old when inside you still feel young, and that's okay too. Because every one of those feelings means you're still alive. Still fighting, still feeling, still loving, and that's something to be proud of. You have walked through more seasons than most. You have weathered more storms than many will ever know. You have built, carried, taught, healed, fought, loved, and lived with a heart bigger than the obstacles before you. That's something worth honoring. That's something worth celebrating. So today, if you feel a gap inside you, don't rush to fill it with noise or distraction. Sit with it. Listen to what it has to teach you. It might be pointing you toward something new, something beautiful you hadn't yet seen. Maybe it's time to pick up a forgotten dream. Maybe it's time to tell your story. Maybe it's time to let yourself be a student again, a beginner, a creator, a mentor. The gaps don't have to be endings. They can be invitations. Invitations to build new friendships. Invitations to find new ways to love and serve. Invitations to see yourself, truly see yourself, for the strong, resilient, luminous soul that you are. The world still needs your voice. It needs your laughter. It needs your wisdom. It needs your tenderness. It needs your light. And if the world forgets, remind it. Remind it by living boldly. Remind it by loving fiercely. Remind it by showing up fully just as you are. Because no matter what gaps you feel, no matter what changes come, you are still here. Still precious. Still full of stories that can heal, teach, and inspire. Still brimming with the kind of beauty that only a life well lived can create. So walk forward with your head high, with your heart open, with your spirit unbroken. There are still songs for you to sing. There are still gardens for you to plant. There are still people waiting for your smile to brighten their day, and there is still so much life left for you to live. The gaps are real, but so is your courage. So is your joy. So is your boundless, beautiful, unquenchable spirit. Thank you for sharing a few minutes of your journey with me today. And if these words touched your heart, I hope you'll carry them with you into the days ahead. Because no matter what, you are never alone, and your light still shines brighter than ever.